Hi, on today's video we'll be talking about the Monday to Friday hats. So I'll be sharing all the information about the hats. So the patterns just launched yesterday and I'm so excited about this project. I've been working on these hats for months now and I just wanted to share the entire collection with you. As you can see, you know, it's kind of weird to be designing and putting out hats at this time of the year, saying most people are going into spring. But the main reason why I designed them at this time of the year in particular is to give you something to knit when you're out and about doing your thing on holidays, some small portable projects to work on. So as we're going to go through those patterns, you'll notice that all of them use simpler stitches. If you've been around for a while, you'll know I love cables, I love all the complicated stitch work, but for this collection I went for the simpler stitch work, for stuff that you can wear every day. And when you look at this whole collection, it's something that literally the whole family can wear except for one or two pieces here, but it's something that you can wear with your partner, you can wear with your kids, if you've got older kids that can fit in adult hats. So that's the main purpose of this collection. So it's called the Monday to Friday hat collection. So there's something for each weekday. Let's get started. So the first one is actually it's two patterns. So these are the Amahle hats. They are the Monday hats. So it's the same pattern, but the other one is striped and the other one is just a single color. So it's very simple. It's worked from the brim to the crown. You do the tubular cast on here to give it that nice stretchy and professional finish. So what I like about the tubular cast on is that even if, let's say, you decide to wear the hat without folding it, it looks neat. And even if you do fold it over, the edging still looks neat on both sides. So that's one thing that I love about this type of cast on. And it's worked all the way up and it's got some increases that give it a square look at the top. I'll put a close-up photo for this. So that's the Monday hat. And then the second sample is knit a bit differently. So instead of the tubular cast on, I did a provisional cast on this one. Reason being, the striping was going to make it untidy if I just folded it over like this. Let me show you the line. Sorry about the makeup stains. I haven't washed the hats since I modeled them. So as you can see, there's this line that goes up where I'm carrying the yarn. Even if you break the yarn, you'll still have to weave in the ends. So I didn't want this part to show. And if you do a tubular cast on here and you work this length here, it's 6 repeats. And then when you get to this point, you join the two, you unzip the, sorry, not the tubular cast on, the provisional cast on, you unzip the two, and then you join the stitches together and start working up. What you end up with is a hat brim that's sort of like folded double. So the ends are on the inside. You don't get to see them. When you fold your hat, you can wear it to whichever way. You don't see the ends. So at the top is the same as the other one. You just work it the same way once you're done with the brim of the hat. So in order to make it neat and tidy at the bottom, you do it like this. Of course, there are other methods you can use. You can work it inside out and then turn the work around and do the body, and it will look like this. But I wanted this thicker brim. So you sort of like have a 3-layered fabric on your brim, so it's super warm. So these are the Monday hats. And then for Tuesday, I decided to go for a fun one. This is the Tuesday hat. So this one is worked from the top down. You start with fewer stitches and do your increases. And the reason why I decided to work on it from the top down is because I wasn't sure of how I wanted to work the brim. I had this idea, but I didn't know how it was going to work. And I just wanted to get going and get the hat moving. And most importantly, I wasn't sure of how long I would want this brim to be in order for it to sit nicely on the hat. So you start here, right at the crown with very few stitches, do your increases, as you can see right here, and then you work all the way down. So when you get to the point where you're ready to do your brim, you do this one by one ribbing so that the head stays snug and tight. Then you turn your work around. I've included the instructions for that, and you do the stockinette brim. So when you're done, your head looks like this. Oh yeah, the turning around, by the way, is a reverse stockinette round so that it can fold easily. So we do this quite a lot when we are knitting garments and we want to fold over the hem and it's just stockinette stitch. So I did the same with this hat. As you can see, it's stockinette stitch all over. You don't get to see the ribbing underneath. And one thing that I like about this particular hat is the color. I intentionally used this speckled, very colorful yarn for this pattern because it's just stockinette, but the yarn itself gives it some character. It gives it some, you know, it just gives it that extra thing that you won't get if you're just using some plain solid yarn. And it gives you an opportunity to make use of your variegated or speckled colorful yarn. This is DK weight, and if you have any DK weight yarn that's super colorful, this is the perfect project. I used about 115 grams, so you need more than a single skein, but you can, if you just want to use a single skein and you don't want to and have some extra scraps somewhere of a different color, you can do this brim and the pom-pom in a different color. One skein will be enough just to do this part up to here, so you won't have any problems. But if you do have more than a skein, or maybe a skein and a half, or even a quarter, you can actually complete this project with your beautiful speckled yarn. I love what the test knitters did. I saw some greens and some purples and different colors, so you can play around with your bright colorful yarn and make this hat. This is the poppy hat. That's the Tuesday hat. So here I used Miss Lamotte DK weight yarn, and it's the color is poppy. That's why I called it the poppy hat. Oh, by the way, with the first two hats I used Cowgirl Blues DK merino, and the color is silver fox. And then the second color is the second hat is silver fox and natural. So with the striping you can also play around with some colors as well. And then the Wednesday hat is this one. This was, I think, my second most enjoyable one to knit. Yarn wise, it was my most enjoyable project to knit. I love this type of yarn. I've only worked with yarn like this twice. This is Bare Naked Wools by Knit Sport, and the yarn is Better Breakfast worsted. The color is Daybreak. I love this yarn. You know, it's those heathered woolly wools, and when you're knitting them with metallic needles, it's just amazing. I love the process of knitting this type of hat. So the construction for this hat is the same as this one. When it comes to the brim, because of this ribbing pattern, I didn't want to fold the hat and have it look like this, having the brim like this and then the hat with this pattern. So I worked the brim double by doing a provisional cast on, working like double the length of the brim so you can fold it over like this, and then joining the stitches and working the length of the hat, and the decreases are so beautiful. I don't know if you can see them. I'll put a photo here. So I wanted some wide ribbed hat that was comfortable to wear, something that I could just put on and, you know, feel that coziness of wool. And as I mentioned, the yarn is amazing. It's super soft and the skein is huge. It's 115 grams, so I still had some leftovers. So this is a single skein project. You can work on this, finish it with just a single skein. So that's the interesting part about it. And because it's some thicker ribbing, there's more stockinette than purling for those that do not like purling. But more than anything, the experience of the yarn and the stitch work was just a fun one. And it's a very quick knit. You can complete this over the weekend. So that's the Wednesday hat. The Thursday hat, to be honest, is my favorite. I always like all my knits when I do them, but the Thursday hat is my favorite. This is a double layered hat that happens to be super long, as you can see. I don't know if I can show the whole thing on the screen. So I started at this point, increased the stitches, worked the body all the way to the crown on the other end, so you can wear it on both sides. So I tried to explain this on my podcast, and I don't think I was making much sense, but what I wanted was to have this hat with one color even if it's folded on one side, and 2 colors if I do the other side. So mostly with this type of hat, one will do half and half, so that when you fold this, you have the beige as the brim, and on the other side you have the beige hat and the black brim. But I wanted this black color to be on the brim as well. So this is how it looks when you fold it. So it's completely black because I did both brims in the same color. There's some information on how many inches this is, and the body of the hat and the brim, so you can play around with the colors as much as you want. So as you can see, this is how it looks. It's a single colored hat, and I wanted this type of color because I've got quite an assortment of colors when it comes to my coats. I've got black, I've got a couple of brown ones, and I've got a burgundy one, and then I've got a very warm jacket that's like military green color. So I wanted something that can blend with all the jackets and coats that I have at the moment, and this black color was something that I could use on all of those. And then the other side of the hat is this beige. So if I fold it over, it's beige and black. So this will work with some of the items I have in my wardrobe as well. This is also Miss Lamotian's, and that's the twist sock. So it's more of a sport weight really, but it's not as thick as some sport weight yarns I've used. It feels more like a fingering, and I've used it on socks. So I knit this hat on 2.75mm needles. So it's quite a project to embark on, but when you're done, the stitches are amazing. So I wanted to get this store-bought look with this hat, and it came out exactly like that. It's long, it's huge, and the ribbing is also quite interesting. It's not just 2x2, it's 2x2x 4x2. So it's a mixture of thick and thin rib. What's the other thing I wanted to say about this hat? So it's also a mindless project. Once you're done with the increases, it's super mindless until you get to the decreases. So you can just work on it when you're traveling, when you're all over the place. It's quite an ideal project for such. And the smaller needles don't really make it such a tedious process. They actually, I don't know, there's some rhythmic feel to it that's really enjoyable. I enjoyed working on this the most, even though it took the longest. It was my most enjoyable project, and when it comes to wearing it, it's so comfortable and it looks really, really good. I know some people don't mind their knitted pieces looking like handmade pieces, but if you like your pieces to really look professionally finished, to look almost like they were machine knitted, and that kind of look that you get from something you buy from the shops, this is the hat for you. I really love how it turned out. As I mentioned, the stitch work really looks great, and they are small and very even because of the smaller needles, but it's worth the work. And then the last piecing, I've shot 5 hats. The first pattern had 2, so ultimately you end up with 5 hats. So I decided to make the last pattern a headband, because not every day is going to be freezing cold, but you might be feeling cold and say it's spring right now and you just don't want to wear your winter items, you just want something light. So I did this headband. It's worked in the round, it's stockinette stitch, so the fabric is double layered. Initially I wanted to do this using some double knitting, but the fabric looked too thick and the decreases didn't look so good, so I ended up skipping that and I knit in the round. So you just work the strip. It's like you're knitting a sock really, because the number of stitches that you cast on are roughly the same number that you'll do for a sock. So it's almost like a single sock. You start with a provisional cast on again from the center so that you can measure and check if it's long enough. So you start here. Let me just show you by hold. Let's say this is your center. When you knit this part, you have to make sure you get to the top of your ear and then start the decreases, or maybe a little bit on the ear itself, and then you start the decreases. So you work this half, do the decreases, and the tail. So I did a quick reel on my Instagram. I'll link it below, showing how you convert from knitting in the round, because all the way from the center up to here you're knitting in the round, and when you get to this point after it decreases, you convert to double knitting. I figured this is a very small piece of fabric, you don't want to be knitting in the round, that will literally drive anybody crazy, but with double knitting it works much faster, and you still get this fabric that's hollow on the inside, like you're double knitting, like you're knitting in the round. So you convert from circular knitting to double knitting at this point. You work all the way up, and then you graft your stitches together the same way you graft your socks with Kitchener stitch, and that's the end. And you do the same on the side as well. So you unzip the provisional cast on, work the second half exactly the same way as the first, and do your, this is the central double decrease, and you do your double knitting on the straps, and it's done. So it's a fun one to knit, very simple, and it's your mindless project that you can work on whilst you're watching TV, sitting at the beach, doing whatever relaxing thing you can be doing. So this pattern is easily adjustable. You can easily adjust it, and it's ideal even for gift knitting, because if you're knitting for another adult, you can actually make it roughly the same size that you will do for yourself, and because of these straps that you tie around, you can tie it up and it still fits just fine. So that was the motivation for this one. It can be some self-knit project, or you can knit it as a gift for somebody else. It's adjustable, and it's an easy fit for anyone. So I used African Expressions Joy on this one, and the color is 1033. So African Expressions uses numbers instead of color names, so it's 1033 African Expressions Joy. So any DK weight yarn will do. I knit this on 3.25 millimeters because I wanted the fabric to be dense and the stitches to be small and even, so you get that with this head pattern. So the largest size, needle size I used here was 4 millimeters on this Better Breakfast worsted yarn. Otherwise I used 3.5 on this head, and I think on these two I used 3.5 as well, and this is 3.25, and this is 2.75. So all the projects use smaller needles so that the fabric is nice and fine. And this one is more of a fingering weight yarn, really. I don't want to call it a sport weight because it really feels like a fingering weight. So you have the fingering weight yarn project, and you have the worsted weight, and the rest are DK weight. So you can play around with different weights of yarn. You can knit whichever one that you prefer. These patterns are available as individual patterns, so if you just want one of them, you can grab one, and if you're interested in more than two, it will be better to get the ebook, because cost wise that will be more effective. So I have both the ebook and the individual patterns available on Ravelry and on Etsy. There are some coupon codes that are running right now that will give you 20%. So if you want the individual pattern, you can get 20% off with the code HATS25. I'll write this down so that you can see it, HATS25. And if you also are interested in the ebook, you can get 20% off the ebook with the code Monday to Friday. So the offer expires on Sunday, the 6th of April. So if you want to try these hats out, you can take advantage of the offers and knit something for yourself during the spring and the summer. By the time you get to the fall, you'll have a whole collection of hats to knit to wear throughout the week. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you again next time. Bye.